So this video we're looking at finding the full equation now of a straight line. So previously we looked at just finding the gradients. Now we're looking at finding the gradients and the y-intercepts, which really it is nothing much more. So if we can do the gradient part, that's the hardest part really. To find the y-intercept, that is pretty straightforward. So now we're just putting it all together and it should be absolutely fine. Let's begin. We'll go through 3 examples where they slightly get tricky each time, but nothing that we can't handle. So let's find the equation of this line below. The important thing to note straight away and to think about is when it says find the equation of the line, the equation of a straight line, and it is a straight line which we can see, there's no curves in it, the equation of a straight line is in the form y is equal to mx plus c. We've got to drill that equation into our head. That is such an important equation. Anyway, the first part is to find the gradient, which we know from the previous video how to do that. So we just go and choose 2 points on our coordinate axis where your line exactly cuts through the corner of a square. So I'm going to go for this point here is a good point to go for, and this point here. But like we said on the last video, it doesn't matter what point you go for. It makes no difference. And I'm going to make my triangle go across in this direction. It could go up and across. That makes no difference as long as you're consistent with the way in which you do this. One thing that might be useful if you're a bit less confident with this is just to quickly remind ourselves that for the steepness of it, up is positive, down is negative, which kind of makes sense. Up, we're getting positive, down, we're going negative, and across to the right is positive, and to the left is negative. Good. And also, right, probably important to note the gradient we said is equal to the change in the y-coordinates, or the rise over the change in the x-coordinates, which is the same thing as the run. Okay, and now knowing that, this becomes okay. So if I start from here, let's keep it in blue. I start at this point. I could start at this point. It makes no difference, but you've got to be consistent. I'm going to start from here. I'm going across by 1, 2 in the positive direction. So across by 2 and up by 1, 2, 3, 4. So up by 4. I've got to follow the path across to this point, up to this point. I can't mix and match it. I can't go across by 2 and down by 4. I've got to follow the path I've chosen. So gradient m is equal to the rise. Well, the rise here is how up or down it is, which is 4 over the run. The run is equal to 2, so 4 divided by 2, which is equal to 2. So my gradient of my line, the m part, is equal to 2, which we'll put into our equation later. So m is equal to 2. That is good. And let's just highlight that so we know that for later, m is equal to 2. Now I'm going to go and find my y-intercept, this part here, c. And the y-intercept just means where does your line cross the y-axis? Well, the y-axis is this one here. It is this line here. Where does it go through the y-axis? Well, it is this point down here, -4. So your line goes through the y-axis at the point -4. Therefore, your c value, we say that c is equal to -4. So that's our second key piece of information that we need to know. So that one's pretty easy to go and get, isn't it? Therefore, the full equation of this line, that's going to write it in red, is going to be y is equal to... Important to note, because people always say, well, what are these y and x parts? These y and x parts are just your x and your y coordinates. Don't worry about that too much. Y and x is always going to just be y and x. You don't replace those with anything. You just replace m and c with what numbers you get. So the equation is going to be y is equal to m, which we calculated to be 2. So 2x, again, y and x, these are your variables. They just stay with y and x. And your c value, in this case, is -4. So plus -4 just means take away 4. So this here, that is the equation of your straight line. Y is equal to 2x minus 4. That is the straight line equation. That is the equation, of this red line here. Done. And actually, right, this is something that, yeah, people kind of don't... Well, I think when I was at school, I didn't really have a clue what was going on until later on. But hopefully from the previous kind of 2 videos, actually, this isn't too bad at all. Right, we can get this, hopefully, relatively quickly. Example 2, same kind of question, find the equation of this line. Again, it is a line, so it's got to be in the form y is equal to mx plus c. That is really important. We've got to find 2 parts here, m the gradient and c being the y-intercept. Again, gradient, what is gradient? How steep your line is, good, but also how do we get it? Gradient is your rise over the run. So the change in y-coordinates over the change in x-coordinates, or just the rise over the run. And again, if you're kind of new to getting equations of lines, let's just go and draw in our little helper thing. So up is plus, down is negative, to the right is plus, to the left is negative. let's go and choose 2 points to get the gradient from our straight line. So let's go for this point here, and it could be any of these points because this line actually goes through the corner of every single square, so it really doesn't matter. Let's go for this point here. And let's go and draw in our triangle. It could be across and then down, or it could be going down and then across. It really does not matter. But you've got to choose a point and then stick with that point and follow the path from that point. So I'm going to choose this point up here. And we're going down by 1, 2, 3. And it is down. It's negative. So down by 3. So I've gone from here to here. And now from here to here. I'm going to go across by 1, 2, 3. Across by 3. Therefore, my gradient m, that's going to write it in red. So m is equal to the rise is how up or down it is, which is equal to minus 3, over the run is how across it is, which is equal to 3. Well, minus 3 divided by 3 is equal to minus 1. Okay, let's just keep that separate so we don't get confused. So my gradient part of this line, m, is equal to negative 1. Good. What else do I need to go and get? I need to go and get the c part, which is the y-intercept. Well, again, where does this line cross through the y-axis? That's the y-axis. It goes through the y-axis at the point, and let's do it in blue, 6. So simply, right, the value of c, where your line crosses through the y-axis, is just equal to 6. So c is equal to 6. Let's highlight that. That's our second key piece of information from my line. Therefore, the equation of this line here is going to be y is equal to, again, y and x, they don't change ever, they are just always y and x. It just means that your coordinates, x, and your y coordinates, y is equal to the m part, m is equal to minus 1 times by x. And that is fine, it looks a bit clumsy, minus 1x we can just write as minus x. It means exactly the same thing. So minus x, and your c value is equal to 6, and it's positive, so plus 6. So that there is the equation of this line. Y is equal to minus x plus 6 is this red line down here. Good. Example 3. Trickier, I think we've got a fractional gradient, which we do, but it's the same thing again. Right, find the equation of this line. Again, it is a line, so it's going to be in the form y equals to mx plus c. First of all, let's go and find the gradient. Again, gradient, what is gradient? It is how steep your line is. Good, but it also is, to get the gradient, we need to know that gradient m is equal to the rise, how steep it is, up and down, over the run. Sorry, not how steep it is, how up or down it is. And just to make sure that we are just really confident with this and we don't get any mistakes, right, up, plus, down, negative, across to the right is plus, to the left is negative. So, 2 points on your line that exactly go through the corner of a square. Let's go for this point over here, and let's go for this point down here. But it could be any points. It makes no difference. You could have gone for this point and this point down here. You would get the same answer, as we went through on the previous video. And now you could go across and then down. I'm going to go for down and then across. It's just whatever kind of instinctively comes to you. It doesn't make any difference. I'm going to start here. I'm going down by 1, 2, and it is down. So down by minus 2 and across by 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive direction. So across by 4. There we go. I could have gone across by minus 4, up by plus 2. You get the same thing because either way you'll get 1 positive divided by 1 negative. You'll get a negative answer. Right, so my gradient is going to be equal to m, which is equal to the rise, how up and down it is. Well, it's going, in this case, down by 2, so minus 2, over the run, which is across by 4, so across by 4. So minus 2 divided by 4, well, what's 2 divided by 4 the same thing as? It is the same thing as a half. If I divide through bottom by 2, but it is minus a half, which you could write as minus 0.5, but personally, I like to leave things as fractions. I think it's much easier to work with, and it is easier to work with further down the line. So I'm going to keep it as minus a half as opposed to minus 0.5. Fractions are much easier to work with. So m is equal to minus a half. Let's make a note of that. Good. And then what else do I need to get? I need to go and get my c value, which is the y-intercept. Where does my line cross through the y-axis? Well, again, that is my y-axis, and it goes through it at the point 3. So the value of c is equal to 3. It cuts the y-axis at the point 3. Let's highlight that, make a note of it. Okay, sorry, I'm not very good with these colour changes, am I? There we go, c is 3. Therefore, the overall equation of my line is going to be y is equal to m, which is equal to minus 1 over 2. X just stays the same always, and my c value is equal to positive 3. So there we go. That is the equation of my straight line. Y is equal to minus a half x plus 3. So hopefully that was useful, and we'll be looking at more straight line stuff on the next video. Thank you.